Hey students, welcome to Delete Day. This is one of the 3 strategies I have for revising your essay sentences. And so the first one that you do is you go through, and now that you have everything down in a draft, I'm going to call that your down draft, you've got to go back through and delete things that you didn't actually need. Sometimes when you're getting your ideas down for the first time, you have lots of filler words, you have confusing phrasings, just not the optimal way to write your sentences, and that's fine for a down draft. But this is the revision, right? This is where you go and you look at it again and you make it better. The first way you do that is by deleting things. So let's check out how you can delete things to make your paper better. To show you what I mean, we're going to have story time with Mrs. Wood here for a second first. So this is an excerpt from a spy story. If you're into that, this is going to be your jam. But I'm just going to read this through really quickly for you so you can see a published version, and then we're going to unpack how an author deletes things to end up with something like this. So here we go. He had a few more minutes to destroy 17 years of evidence. Still in pajamas, Harry Gold raced around his cluttered bedroom, pulling out desk drawers, tossing boxes out of the closet, and yanking books from the shelves. Everywhere he looked were incriminating papers. A plane ticket stub, a secret report, a letter from a fellow spy. Gold ripped the papers into shreds, carried 2 fistfuls to the bathroom, shoved them into the toilet, and flushed. Then he ran back to his bedroom, grabbed the rest of the pile, and stumbled on slippers down the stairs to the cellar, where he pushed the stuff to the bottom of an overflowing garbage bin. The doorbell rang. So, you should have felt the pacing and the way that those longer sentences in the middle are making it feel like everything's kind of chaotic and scrambly because, that's the feeling the author's trying to get across that Harry Gold would have been feeling as someone's about to find out all of the, spy games he's been playing. So you have that kind of stuff going on where they crafted those sentences, and then you get to the really dramatic, the doorbell ring, short one, right? And so if that's kind of the effect and the impact the author's wanting here, what would this author have deleted in order to make sentences that do that kind of work for him? So the first thing an author is going to do is they're going to delete words that aren't doing much work. And so that's the first thing you're going to be looking for. What words do you have in your draft that really aren't doing anything for you? So let me show you an example. If this was the downdraft version of a sentence in the story we just looked at, and it said, he had only a few more precious minutes to quickly get rid of 17 years of incriminating evidence. We've got some words in there that really just aren't doing much for us, right? So you've got things like, he had only a few more precious minutes. Like, you don't need to say both of those things, right? Like, we get the idea that you have a few more minutes. They have the phrase like quickly get rid of. That's a lot of words. You could probably find something that's going to be a single word that gets the same idea across in a more efficient way. And then you've got incriminating evidence, which incriminating, really cool vocab word, right? Like, sounds pretty good. Do you really need it though, given the rest of what's going on in the story? So let's check out the published version. He had a few more minutes to destroy 17 years of evidence. The impact's a lot better, right? He had only a few more precious minutes to quickly get rid of 17 years of incriminating evidence. Nothing is grammatically wrong with that, but it sounds way better, and the intensity and the pacing that you're going for is a lot better in that one where you deleted words that really just weren't doing much for you. And those kind of words pop up a lot in a downdraft. So you're looking at your sentences to get rid of words that don't do much for you so you can replace them with something like destroy if you have a single word that does the same thing you're wanting to get across just more efficiently. The other thing you're looking for on delete day is deleting unnecessary repetition. This is one of the biggest complaints that teachers have and feedback that you see on student writing is that you are repeating yourself. You did not need to say the same thing 7 different ways, right? Find the best way to say it one time. So let's see another downdraft sentence here that the author would have fixed up by deleting things. Harry Gold raced around his cluttered bedroom. He pulled out desk drawers, he tossed boxes out of the closet, he yanked books from the shelves. So here you actually have some really good action verbs, right? Like we've got raced, pulled, tossed, yanked. Like those are really good images. Those sentences, again, are not grammatically incorrect. But you've got some unnecessary repetition going on in there, right? Like, do you need to say he every single time and have those 3 sentences in the same structure in a row? Not really. Usually that's not going to be the case, especially when you're doing academic versus creative writing. You just don't need to take that long to get your point across. So, what you can do to get rid of that unnecessary repetition is turn something into a different sentence pattern, right? Like make it a serial sentence and just list those things instead of making individual sentences. So, you end up with Harry Gold raced around his cluttered bedroom. He pulled out the desk drawers, tossed boxes out of the closet, and yanked books from the shelves. Way better, right? Like it's not taking as long to get to your point. So let's unpack that process one more time so you know how to do it yourself. So you start with your downdraft, right? Like you get your ideas down. They can be pretty good, right? Good verbs, that kind of stuff is all fine. But then you fix it up and you decide to do that serial sentence we talked about. So the last part of the process is what I call because I borrowed it from Anne Lamott. She has downdraft, updraft, and then dental draft is the last version that we're going to look at here. And what a dental draft means is it's the same way you would think about a dentist, like checking each individual tooth to make sure it's okay. You're checking each individual sentence to make sure it's okay, and each word in each sentence. And so if you've got this better version, you look at it one more time and say, but have I said it the best I can? And you can end up with this. Harry Gold raced around his bedroom, pulling out desk drawers, tossing boxes out of his closet, and yanking books from the shelves. You keep that urgency because you put it all together in one sentence and you made it um, into a closer and serial sentence combo instead of just having one simple sentence and one serial sentence. So the effect at the end is really, really good, right? Like you had the original downdraft, and then it got way better by the time you got to the dental draft by deleting words that weren't doing much for you and deleting unnecessary repetition. So now we're going to try it out and kind of see one more time the process of really fixing things up on delete day to make your sentences better. If you have this idea, everywhere he looked, there were incriminating papers. There was a plane ticket. There was a secret report. In addition, there was a letter from a fellow spy. If you're looking at this, immediately you should be seeing that unnecessary repetition, right? There were, there was, there was, there was. Like, we do not need to say it that many times. We just saw that serial sentence trick. We can pack it all together. That would be much better. Also, we've got words that aren't doing much work. Like, in addition, like, sure, yeah, you're adding on an extra thing. But if we turn it into a serial sentence, you can just take that phrase out altogether. So with that in mind, how could you rewrite that sentence in a way that's better or more efficiently stated? And here's what the author came up with. Everywhere he looked, there were incriminating papers. Dash. A plane ticket. A secret report. A letter from a fellow spy. So, as published authors will do, they get real fancy, right? So they've got a dash in there, like really cool punctuation that worked well for what the sentence was doing. But that's the kind of stuff you're looking for. Like, where are my opportunities to take my ideas and really make them impressive and make them stand out and make an impact? So now let's think about opportunities for revision on delete day for actual academic writing, right? Like, cool, that's all great for creative writing when published authors are doing it in stories. But if you have a research paper, and for example, here we're going to say you wrote a research paper on a year in American history, your teacher wants you to tell everything that happened that was important in a specific year in American history and then decide if it was a more positive or negative year overall. And in your downdraft, these are the first sentences you come up with to work with. America faced many challenges throughout the year. In the late 1960s, there were many severe, life-changing challenges the United States had to face. So if you're thinking about the updraft, you're revising on delete day, how can you rewrite that sentence in a way that's better or more efficiently stated? Hopefully you're picking up on these kinds of things. You're picking up on the way that this student said challenges twice in the same two sentences. That's not necessary, right? We've got faced and then we've got face. Those words are really similar. Again, we're repeating ourselves. It's just not exciting for a reader. It sounds like your vocabulary is limited and you don't know what else to say. And while that might be the case in a downdraft and you're trying to just get your ideas down, when you're fixing it up, you can make these better choices. Other things you can notice, look, they said America here and United States here. So it's not repetition, right? Like they used a synonym and it sounds better. But what ideas are they trying to get across? If they're talking about the year and they're talking about the decade here, we just need to figure out what's the idea that we're trying to get across, and do we need two sentences to say whatever it is we're trying to say here? And the last thing you want to check out is if you've got severe life-changing challenges. Those are both good vocabulary words. Like severe, I'm like, yeah, cool, that's nice. But you've got to decide which ones you want to keep to make the impact that you're going to want to make in your sentences. So if I was going to write a better version of that sentence in an updraft, I would say America faced many life-changing challenges in the late 1960s, especially throughout 1968. So you get rid of that repetition in both counts with the faced and the challenges. You keep the important details like the actual year versus the decade. So you're going from something more general to more specific, which is a good move at the beginning of a paper. And you're still staying focused on, you've got life-changing challenges. So severe is kind of implied by a challenge. I mean, you could say that it's like a really difficult challenge, and severe is a good word for that. But maybe you unpack that later in your paper so that this sentence does the kind of work you want it to do. So let's look at one more student example. This came from an actual student paper trying to write about this year in American history, and this is kind of what happens in a downdraft. You've got really good ideas, but they get jumbled. Like, look at this sentence. Because of the conversing going on about the gold standard currency and bimetallism, the people decided they needed another political party for people who weren't for either one. If you're like me the first time reading that, you're probably thinking, like, say what? Right? Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense the first time through. So we know there's got to be a way to rewrite that sentence that's better or more efficiently stated, but you've got to figure out what's even going on in that sentence first. So this delete day revision takes a little bit more unpacking, right? If you have this, like, the conversing going on about, change that to the ongoing conversation about, right? Like, condense that a little bit so you get to the point and it makes a little more sense. And then I like the intention here of saying, like, because of that stuff that's orange, the people decided. But if you just go ahead and just say, cause the people to decide, that's actually a better move for the sentence to make it make more sense. So now already you can see how you've got this idea that, okay, so they're saying people are already talking about something. There's an ongoing conversation about these two things. It's making people have to decide something. And what they decided is that they needed another political party. And then this part for the people who weren't for either one, it just sounds a little wonky. So look, you've got this upgrade, dash, yay, fancy punctuation. And then you move that word one to the beginning to talk about, like, we're actually talking about the political party here, right? They're looking for a political party, one political party that didn't support either side. That's like way better than people who weren't for either one. So you can see those red places. Those are things that got deleted and then kind of reworked to revise a sentence on delete day. So now that we've kind of worked through those examples, I'm going to give you a search and rescue mission. You're going to search your draft and rescue your grade from the following list of things. You're going to go through and delete or eliminate lazy verbs. So when we saw that, like, to quickly get rid of, and you replace it with one destroy, that's better. Those kind of moves. You're looking for places when you can tell something instead of show something. So in the serial sentence examples, when we're listing all the different actions that Harry Gold took to try to hide things, instead of just telling those individual sentences, let's show the action that happened by stringing it together into a serial sentence. You want to look for missed opportunities for figurative language. And so if you've got anywhere in your paper where you can really kind of like flex your writing skills and drop something impressive, take advantage of that. When you're deleting things, you can see, like, oh, this is kind of lame. Let me delete it and get rid of something that's more impressive. You want to get rid of boring punctuation. If you've got a chance to use a dash and use it correctly, or to use a semicolon and put two sentences together in a way that does something impressive, take advantage of those on delete day. You definitely want to get rid of your vague nouns. So if you're saying thing, stuff, rough, very, do a control F in your paper and see where it happens and just get rid of them. Like, anything you replace those vague nouns with is going to be better. And then if you're writing a formal academic research paper, for sure, you want to get rid of any really overly conversational language so that it sounds like you're being professional and academic and you know what you're talking about and you understand who your audience is. So, last thing to keep in mind there, just because it's correct doesn't necessarily mean it's good. Lots of those sentences, technically correct, but we can upgrade them on delete day to make them better. So here's your takeaway task. You are going to do some revising by deleting. So step one is going to be to find any paragraph from your paper. I don't care if it's the intro, the third body paragraph, any paragraph. But you're going to copy and paste just that one paragraph into the original delete slide on your interactive notebook. Once you have the original one from your draft copy and pasted, you're going to go to the revised delete slide in your interactive notebook, and you're going to rewrite that paragraph by taking out any unnecessary repetition, words that aren't doing much work, and things from that search and rescue list. So the goal here is to make sure that every sentence in that paragraph is as efficient and effective as possible. So show me you can apply those strategies we just went through to a single paragraph in your paper by doing that in your interactive notebook. Happy writing!